Thanks a lot, Walt. Good morning, everybody. Today, I'm going to wake everyone up by scaring the living bejesus out of you talking about IoT. It's the kind of thing where I think in this business, everyone knows it's an issue, it's there, it's coming. Is it going to save us or is it going to kill us? And that's what I'm going to be talking about. So in 20 minutes, I'm going to go over some pretty big issues and then throw it open to hopefully some interesting questions. I've already spoken to a few of you and you've got some valid concerns here. So the agenda for today, a little bit on the what and why of IoT, and then is it an opportunity or is it a threat? Some of the potential rewards there and the risks, and then really a little bit on how to go forward right now today. Firstly, in good CEDIA style, a little bit about me. So I've been in related businesses to IoT for around 30 years, starting off in wireless communications, electronic warfare, cryptography, digital, optical comms, microelectronics, to lighting, smart connected lighting, and the Internet of Things. Currently working with the British Standards Institution, where we are looking to drive forward standards for IoT and also provide training, consultancy, and assurance as well. So it's really at the heart of what we do. And finally, as ever with CEDIA, the fun fact. My fun fact is I fronted a native synth pop group, and more of that later, but I promise I won't sing. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so a little bit about BSI. So why are we talking to you here? Standards, this kind of thing, why is this relevant? Our assurance side of the business, what we focus on is called organizational resilience. So we help our customers capture opportunity and minimize risk, which is exactly why I'm talking to you today. What are the opportunities here with IoT, and what can I do to show you where to go forward to capture that and minimize your risk? So, IoT, what's the big deal? We hear about it all day, every day. 1 minute it's going to save the world, the next minute it's a big nightmare. What's the real story? One of the key things is in the smart home market, we tend to think of IoT as, oh yeah, that's controlling your heating and your lighting and your security via your phone. The real thing with IoT is not that, it's the machine-to-machine learning. The internet was originally conceived for academics to communicate, to learn from each other, and then to act on that. And the IoT is that at the machine level here. So the real benefit is in the smart home is your home learning your habits, learning your preferences, learning what's going on outside, whether it's the weather forecast, whether it's price of electricity, whether it's the latest news, and delivering you the absolute service and environment you want cost effectively without you even noticing it. That's the real benefit. And for the smart home market, a lot of the perceived threat is around a lot of the new low-cost technologies coming in and fancy app-based stuff. But for your market, it's not about that. It's about having a seamless smart home that does the work for you. So why do it? The three big areas within that are really making a difference really in the smart home market is quite simple. Make things easy, do different things, and then big data. So making things easy, having everything through a voice-activated source, other voice-activated devices are available. Doing something different. That's where you can start to see, okay, people will pay for something if they see there's extra benefit. And then finally, data. That works all the ways. Your customers, you, your supply chain, everyone wants the data. All of this then is about new revenue streams. Don't think about this as something you're just bringing in because everyone's doing it. You have to think through where the potential revenue is coming from. So, is it an opportunity or a threat? On one side, you have the view that, yep, it's follow the yellow brick road, and this is going to be new revenue. It's all great. It's all fantastic. On the other side, you've got, no, this is a nightmare for us in the smart home market. This means loads of new entrants coming in that don't understand with inferior products. It's a race to the bottom on price, and it gives everybody a bad name. And we are stuck somewhere in the middle between the two. So, in the audience here, how many are, yay, IoT, it's the way ahead? Absolutely, maybe one. Two, okay. How many are like IoT? It's absolute hell. I don't want to know. Exactly. Most of us are stuck somewhere in the continuum between here and here. So what I want to talk to you now about is how to move more to this side of it and away from this hellish nightmare which so many of us have seen. So if we look at the why, when I'm being asked to give some support, consultancy and help on IoT, the first question I ask the customer is, why are you doing this? And they normally say, oh, it's obvious. We're doing this because we have to do it. If we don't do it, we'll be out of business. Or they say, well, we've got a new product coming out now. We're doing a new project. Unless we put IoT on it now, we're going to lose out. Just stick the technology in there anyway. And what I've seen, that way, is the road to disaster. Why is that? So if I look here at some of the reasons why IoT projects fail. Now, this is not just in smart home, these are general. All of these things, whether it's not having all the skill sets, not learning from history, use of cheap products, all of these things are indications, but they're not the underlying reason. The number one reason why IoT products, why IoT projects fail is a lack of strategy. You have to think what you're actually doing here. What's the benefit of this technology to your customer? And once you've thought through that, where's the actual money coming from? So you have to think strategy, tangible outcomes, then your use case, then the technology, not the other way around. Too many times it's, here's a great bit of technology, let's get it out there, and that's why the projects fail. IoT, it's great, it's the heart of what I do, but it's an enabler, it's not the outcome, it's not the end game. So the first part of the strategy, and we see this time and time again, is what is that product actually doing, and does that do it well? And this is again where the current players at the top end of the smart home market who might see a threat coming in, you've got to think about this. The IoT thing is primarily a thing. It has to do what it's supposed to do well. Too often I've seen there's, oh, okay, but it doesn't matter about that. The product's okay, but it's IoT enabled. There may be an argument that says there's no such thing as bad, and that can relate to pizza, and some people say sex. I'm not going to comment on that. But when it comes to home automation, when it comes to the security of your home, when it comes to the welfare, when it comes to your living conditions, when it comes to this fancy home and all your lifestyle, absolutely, the quality of the product is absolutely key. So all that smart technology does not give you a good product. I've seen this a huge amount in lighting, for instance, smart connected lighting, and the light it delivers is rubbish. The dimming is appalling. The color rendering is terrible. So all this technology is great. Don't lose sight of the fact that an internet-enabled thing is still a thing, and it has to do that thing well. And that's where the current players at the top of the game in the smart home market, that's where you can fight back. The other side of it, and this is where I've seen the retail really kind of come forward over the last year. Internet of Things really took off in the industrial market. And you might have heard of the Industrial 4.0, the IoT revolution. They've been doing IoT since the 1980s with modems. But with them, it's all about efficiency, profitability, and this kind of thing. That's great. But what retail have picked up on is the customer experience is key. All of that IoT that enables your supply chain and delivers all that fancy stuff downstream, that might give you profits. The customer experience, that wins you the business. It's binary. So once you've got a great thing, and then you want to IoT enable it, you've got to focus on the customer experience. So within retail, what they've seen is making this customer experience seamless. So from the first time you look at something online, through the whole of the buying cycle, from need, awareness, selection, purchase, and post-purchase, having that as a seamless process to the customer that is tailored specifically for them. And then also a dynamic response to their changing requirements. And this model is really working, and we're seeing this now right the way across the board from retail into healthcare, into the patient journey now becomes seamless in much the same way, and the same thing in industry. And this is what you've got to think of in the smart home. So when you've got an application, too many of the new entrants here, they focus on some kind of an app, they've got their perception about what the customer really wants. So if you want to differentiate and stand out and have a really good top quality product, it's all about knowing your customer and coming up with an experience that's going to be special for them. So this is for your customer. Now, if you're talking about the mass market out there, the average guy who wants everything via the phone and it's all fancy, yeah, that's great. That's not the same kind of customer experience as you're going to be expecting at the absolutely top of the smart home market. But it doesn't matter. The three fundamental rules apply here with the customer experience. Again, I see this go wrong time and time again. The first thing is, it's actually got to do something useful. What do I mean by that? If you've got something there because it looks good, unless it actually has a function that has use to the end customer, it's never going to work. Just as important, it's got to be easy. I saw a really good smart lock technology. But the way it was rigged, you have 5 steps with your phone and all this kind of thing, by which time you could have just got out a key, opened the door, and got in. Making it too complicated, no matter how useful it is, it will never work. And then thirdly, have a bit of the wow factor. The wow factor is good, but without those other two, it will never work. So this is, again, where you can differentiate against all this kind of tidal wave of new products flooding the market. You understand your customers far better than you guys coming in, so use that knowledge. Work with somebody to come up with a use case that really, really attracts your particular customer. So why am I focusing on this so much? This idea of the customer experience is really going to wow them and win you the business. And then these new capabilities that will deliver further revenue downstream are so important that you absolutely quantify the dollars on the bottom line to your business. Why is that important? Because on the other side, two very, very simple questions that have a huge potential price tag. So unless you can make it absolutely clear where the money is going to come from with this technology, you won't be able to invest in this. And if you don't invest in this, you're dead. So what's at stake here? What is this big risk? Yeah, there's a huge amount of money at stake, but just as important is your brand reputation. With current products now, you release your products out to the market, and say after a while, yeah, you've got an installed base of several 100,000. Then 1 week, you get a product failure. Next week, you get 2, 3, 4. Oh, I've got a problem here. Next thing, you're starting to get a flood. You make a decision, okay, we're going to have some kind of recall, we're going to manage that. Once this is IoT enabled, you get a fault and bam, 24 hours, you've got 500,000 angry customers on the phone to you wanting their money back and wanting to sue you straight off. This is serious, and it happens very, very quickly. And it's happened to a lot of companies, some of the top brand names. I would say the top 1 and 2 it's happened to. They're resilient enough to be able to cope. They've got millions of pounds in there to sort the problem out. Smaller companies, not so. This could absolutely kill you. The first issue, this is the easier of the two really, is the big word interoperability. No matter what people say to you, it's complicated. If you've got an IoT expert who says, I know all about IoT, don't worry, it's easy, I'll do this for you, he's either a liar, a fool, or both. It is complicated. There's the obvious question of will it work, but will it work with legacy systems? There's far more of an issue generally with IoT about having to integrate that retrospectively into at least part of a system already, and that's where a lot of the problems lie. And the second thing is, will it keep working? It's largely software-based here, and you've got not just your own software, but you can guarantee that whether you're designing a product yourself or whether you're integrating a product, you are not personally in control of every piece of software, every piece of firmware that's within that product. Likewise, everything you interact with is also going to have third-party plugins. How is all this going to be managed going forward to ensure that the product you put in will work in a year's time, never mind 2 or 5? There's a lot to think about here. So the key thing really is getting your supply chain to work for you and to support you on this. When it comes to installation, interoperability, compatibility with legacy systems, the first question you should be asking from your supply chain, anyone who's trying to say, I've got a great technology for you, how long will that platform be supported and how can they prove it? I'm showing firstly my age and firstly my nationality by showing this rather dodgy second-hand car dealer here. But far too often, I have seen his great technology, you have a great demo, you buy the stuff, and that's the last you'll ever hear of them, and you're stuck, lumbered with it. And I do see this time and time again. So fundamentally, that was the easy bit, by the way. Now we come to the real serious stuff. There are 3 big security issues with the IoT. Firstly, can the products be stopped working or made dangerous? Now here, typically, we'll talk about the smart city stuff here, and also big facilities. The latest one I read about was the end of last year, a nation-state level attack on a power generating facility. You'd think it'd be as secure as you could get. What they were looking to do was to get in, able to disable the safety systems, and then force the power generation into an unstable state and destroy the whole facility. They accidentally triggered one of the alarms that shut the system down and alerted the fact that hackers were in there. But if they can hack into that, you've got a high-end residential installation with security systems, and various other systems may be linked into that as well, control remotely, hack into that, switch off the security, switch off the smoke detectors, switch on the gas fire, switch on the oven. There's a lot of potential risk here. So that's the first one. The second area, probably a little bit more familiar with this, is can the devices actually be hijacked and used for something else? Most of you have probably heard of the Mirai botnets from 2016. Examples of this I see every single day. This particularly big one, so just a little bit of background. As I understand it, it was a company who dealt with online gaming, effectively. They looked to take out their competitors in quite an aggressive way. What they decided to do was hijack a load of IoT devices and use it to attack their competitor's server. They found a particular brand of IP-enabled security camera that was incredibly vulnerable. And not only was that supplied directly, that was also provided OEM to a load of other companies as well. Hundreds of thousands of these all around the world. So with their software, they hacked into every single one of those, installed a piece of malware. When the timing was right, hit the go button. Every single one of those, hundreds of thousands of IP cameras, then blasted this DNS server to take out their competitor. It also took out Amazon, Twitter, PayPal, and Spotify. And the thing was, not one of the people who had those cameras in knew anything was going on. So the cameras still worked as a camera, yet they've been hijacked and used to take out a server across the other side of the world. So very, very real threat, and we see this happening every single day. Then finally, we have the data side of things. What's happening to that data and how secure is it? Within Europe now, we've got the General Data Protection Regulation, which isn't actually new. It's been around for 22 years. But there's an update to it now that basically changes the definition of personal data. So anybody doing business with this technology in Europe now needs to think about this. Whoops. Oh, a bit of a giveaway there, what the next slide was. OK, so personal data. Within Europe now, it's any information relating to an identifiable person, anything at all. Location data, online identifiers, video data with people on it. If you can trace that back to an individual, that's personal data. What that means is, under European law, you have to be absolutely transparent to that data subject about what data you've got, what you're doing with it. You have to be absolutely clear to them your legal reason for holding that data and also what their rights are. And you have to be absolutely accountable for the security of that data throughout the whole of its life. So this is going to start to affect everybody who is capturing personal data in the home. And then tomorrow's threat. So that's just where we are today. Tomorrow, who knows? So you might be getting to the point now you think, IoT, do you know what? It's just not worth it. Can't I just be completely secure and know that it's OK? OK. Seriously, this is a question I've been asked. Can't we just make it secure? And unfortunately, there is no such thing. Any system at all in the world with the right skills, tools, time, and motive can be hacked. Anything. So what you do is, rather than think, OK, that's it, we will give up, forget it, you've got to make it secure as appropriate for its intended use in the environment. You've got to accept the fact that winter is coming, that the wall's not going to hold, that there's going to be a breach. And how do you manage that? And there are a whole suite of tools and established processes for doing that in terms of reducing your risk, being resilient, response, recovery, this kind of thing. So it's not like it can't be done. And a lot of the work that we do is actually analyzing whether digital meets the physical, what is that product actually doing, what are the threats likely to be, and what harm can actually be done, and then assessing that risk and coming up with a security program that's appropriate. If you do all that, this doesn't have to be a big issue. But the main thing is, don't do this alone. Don't walk into this alone thinking, A, it's going to be easy, the install is going to be a problem, and B, it's not really down to me, I haven't got any liability here. There's plenty of liability for data protection and for security. So, a quick kind of summary here. Opportunity, threat, benefit, and risk. Yes, it's all of those. If you're going to walk into this, have a strategy. Why are you doing it? What tangible outcomes are you going to get from it? Remember that IoT thing is still a thing. And for you in the smart home market, it's those top quality products that really still stand out. And this IoT stuff, it's enabler, but it doesn't impact how good that product actually delivers its core service. And once you've worked that out, do the numbers stack up with that new customer experience, all that kind of thing, that you can invest in security and that you can invest in interoperability? The next key thing really is de-risking. So this is all about suppliers, support from your suppliers, and security. So getting suppliers to prove that security and interoperability, and yes, I edited this at 4 o'clock this morning and put a 1 instead of an exclamation mark. Getting suppliers to do their job. So that is proving that security interoperability, sharing that risk here. They're the ones that are saying this stuff's going to work. You get them to prove it, and you get them to stand by you. How long is that product going to be supported? Make sure it's secure for its intended use. And don't forget, in Europe, the obligation's under general data protection. The next thing, the final thing really, is start small, test it and trial it. Do not go big on this stuff. It's very, very easy. The sooner you can interact with your customers, the sooner you will get feedback on how good that customer experience really is and what the problems are. The last two really. So what I've said here, if you're taking this technology on, that's what you've got to do. I know out there, 99% of the people who are putting this technology on the market aren't doing this. So challenge them. So say, yeah, we haven't gone down this route yet. Why? Because we see a lot of issues there with security. We see a lot of issues there with the quality of the product. We see a lot of issues with that customer experience. How long is it going to be supported for? Challenge them. Use these questions to challenge those untrustworthy competitors and finally get help. That's really what we're here for. So last couple of thoughts in summary. Your customer knowledge in the smart home market is your key differentiator. That's going to be of enormous value. And if you're going into this market or if you're challenging this market, it's that knowledge of the customer that's going to make you stand out. So accept the fact you know the customer, accept the fact you don't know IoT. So picking a good supplier is absolutely critical. Someone who's got a proven track record in your space, who takes security and support seriously. How long will this platform be supported for? How long will they promise you? And are they flexible enough to generate a use case for your customers? Because that's the thing that's really going to make people choose your particular product. And the last point here, really, respect your customers. I've seen a lot of this with general data protection regulation in Europe. People think, oh, here we go again. And in the UK, it's another, oh, Brussels, up yours, bring on Brexit. We can forget all that and get on with doing a proper job. No, the general data protection is there to protect the individual from misuse of their personal data. So take security and take privacy seriously. So that's it, really. There's all the stuff there. There's loads of free downloads available. Training consultancy, we do all that fancy stuff. There's my details. And yes, there's me in 1984 as a pop star in a synth duo. And I'm not going to... Shall I sing? No, no, no. So forget all that. On to BSI again. Take a look at our website. And I'm around now for questions if anyone's got any questions. The main thing here is... it's coming, embrace it or challenge it. You can't ignore it. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Hi, thanks for that. As an IoT installer, I think we will need you guys, the BSI Institute, to come up with a policy or a standard for manufacturers to adhere to sell and support and secure.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. Standards, it's a very, very fragmented market in terms of standards right now. There are some horizontal IoT level standards at the very top, but what I've seen is every single vertical, whether it's automotive or aerospace or smart homes, smart cities, has its own problems and has its own issues. One of the things we're doing in the UK, we've worked with the IoT Security Foundation and with the government, the Department for Digital, and coming up with a quite straightforward policy that says here are 13 or so key areas of concern that any manufacturer of IoT products should address. That will be released next month, and I'm working through most of the trade associations through the UK at least to get that out around the UK, and we'll be pushing this effectively globally. And at BSI, we offer quite a simple verification process that you can say, here are the 13 areas of concern that deal with things like, you may have heard of the OWASP top 10 for IoT, which are the globally accepted biggest risks. And then we offer quite a simple, practical verification against that. One of the problems is that's at the product level. You've got other layers in the system which do impact that. We've got solutions for that as well, not just us, but in general, looking at the infrastructure, the cloud layer, and the application. But the key thing, the most of the vulnerabilities at the moment, the biggest area, is all these products that come in incredibly insecure. So that is being done. In the UK, it will be government policy, I'm hoping, setting these guidelines within the next month, and we're part of that. Any more questions?
Thank you. As a home technology professional, what are we supposed to do when we realize that a lot of the devices that we install at our customers' place are not supported by manufacturers anymore? It means that there's no going to be any firmware update, even if they found a security issue. that's a big problem. We always, every day, install a lot of products. Are we supposed to go to our customer's place and disconnect everything?
It is a very big problem. There's no easy answer for that. And what I have seen is vulnerabilities in just about everything, from Intel processors to Bluetooth. It's difficult to say in terms of what's already done and what's already out there. Part of what I'm trying to do now is help just inform so that you guys can ask the right questions going forward. In principle, one of the main things is using a trusted supplier and a trusted source. Yes, that plays into the hands of the big guys to a certain extent, but the other thing is maybe asking for verification, independent testing, independent proof that going forward then that they have the level of processes in place to ensure continuity of software. As you've mentioned, sometimes it's not just a supplier, they're relying on a third-party plugin. So it is very difficult. Part of it, again, is going to be education all the way through to the end customer of what the risk is. Unfortunately, I don't have an easy answer for it. It's certainly one of the reasons why I'm saying right now it's an issue. It's a big issue, even with the biggest names out there. So do be careful and making sure that you have some level of coverage or assurance of protection from your suppliers. Sorry, I don't have an easy answer for you. It is a problem that's out there, and I think. Going forward, it will remain a problem for considerable time. As the technologies improve, threats improve, and everything changes, and that pace of change is happening faster and faster. One thing that we do within our certification program is we look at a company's process for software change and updates, so that not necessarily every update has to be fully checked. We look at their process for change. We look at their robustness and resilience for how long they'll be supporting a platform going forward. And part of the new policy that we're just talking about now is that you absolutely clearly have to state how long a product will be supported and commit to it with legal consequences if you don't. So all I can say is, while the goat might be out there and escaped and running a little bit with some of the stuff that's out there, part of what I'm doing now is desperately trying to shut the doors and make sure we've got some control going forward. If you give me your details, I'll happily keep the conversation going, and whatever I can do to think of or see examples of ways of recovering from previous installations, absolutely I will. But right now, it's more okay, let's learn from what we've done so far and make sure we can build the safety blocks in place to prevent it happening going forward. Any more questions? Well, thank you very much for your time. If you have any more questions at all, I'll be around here for a while, so please come up and chat to me. Otherwise, thank you very much for your attention. Thanks a lot.